it seems like an important part of construction that, at least from my perspective, wasn't actively taught to me.
No, there is no real lesson plan for that.
Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Now, in our case,
Right.
the punch in the face is a change of construction, remodeling, home forums.
Not in a YouTube comment section.
Right. You going?
Yeah, I am now. I figured I'd keep that part off.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, folks, there are definitely things that don't always make the recordings. As we mentioned before, John and I would like to keep our jobs.
Yeah, and we tend to talk like sailors and talk like construction men. And,
Let's say right.
you know, that's where it is. You guys get a little bit of a peek at that on the episodes, but you don't hear a lot of things.
Yeah,
It's like my shirt says, if you're offended about what I said, you should hear what I keep in my head.
That sums it up, buddy. Yeah, we want to keep employed. You'll know if one of us wins the lottery because we're going to start talking some wild shit.
Yeah.
This is for educational and fun purposes, folks.
Because if one of us wins a big enough lottery, we're both quitting our jobs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this ship is sailing or sinking together. We're on the same fucking boat here. We're going to see what happens. Yeah, both of us get canceled or nobody does.
Right.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, brother.
Welcome back to the job trailer, man.
Yeah, another week. Yeah, let's fucking get this thing going.
Let's get
right?
after it, man.
Get after it? All right. Welcome, everybody, to the I Shower After Work podcast. A podcast for everything trades and trades related. We're happy you're here. I am one of your hosts, John, and Jason, as always, is across the table from me. Jason, how you doing, my man?
Not fucking great, buddy. I got a little rant to start here, but in general, I'm doing well. How was your week?
Well, it's another week of recovery and other things going on. I'm still just a lump on a fucking log.
This ongoing recovery has been a theme here just because John's been sitting home doing nothing, going crazy.
You know what? Let me start with this rant.
All right.
When the surgeon tells you 2-week recovery, and then the post-op doctor tells you 6 weeks recovery, and then the gal that's filling out forms for your freaking short-term disability tells you that it's going to be like 2.5 months. Dude,
fucking crazy. I'm sorry to laugh, buddy. I'm sorry to laugh.
God.
It's tough when you have an idea in your head. I always think back, this is the adult version of you thought you were getting something in the mail as a kid. You were waiting for it, and it kept not showing up, checking the mailbox. It's right. That. You just want it to be done.
Yeah, you really do.
That's a drag, buddy. Mine is, listen, I said, I'm coming in a little hot today. This is not what today's episode is about, folks, but public service announcement. I'm real passionate about something. I want to get it out into the ether if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it, man.
Listen, folks, we have stayed away from politics on this show, and we're going to continue to do that for the most part. We had a little blip during the 4th of July Canada Day episode. Just a blip, right?
Must.
Yeah, that was just a little blip that was on the radar. But listen, folks, I don't get to vote in the United States because I have not become a citizen yet. I am working on it. I am here legally, all that. So I keep my opinion about what politics you should follow out of this podcast and out of my day-to-day life. I don't even bring it up when people are arguing about it out in public. Friends of mine, family, all that. I stay out of it because I'm out of it.
Yep.
However, if you believe as a person that your political party is what's going to save you or the way, yes, things haven't been great lately, but they haven't been great with lots of different groups of politicians over the years, no matter what side of the aisle they're sitting on.
Right.
If you think that they have your best interest in mind, you're absolutely wrong. I see it every day, man. They are actively trying to keep us mad about other things. Yeah. Don't let them pull the wool over your eyes. Yes, pull for your political party. That's your right. But if you think a bunch of white dudes, regardless of what their political affiliations is, gives a flying fuck about you at the end of the day, you're fooling yourself and everybody around you. Stop. Ask questions. That's it.
Yeah, I won't even add anything to that because I can't argue.
Dude, it's so frustrating to see people getting divided like this. It's not about politics anymore. It's about all of us having a successful, happy country and life. And holy shit, it's one distraction after another.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it really is.
Yeah, please, everybody. With the election coming up, I'm not giving you anything about who to vote for. It's none of my goddamn business. But look at the bigger picture when you're making your decisions, because I see wasted money, wasted time, lots of shit. So
right.
That's the outside perspective for you today, for what it's worth. Take that as it is.
We will leave that there.
Yes, I've been so frustrated about that the last couple of weeks. I just want everybody to stop being divided for no reasons. We are literally all in this shit together, and we're fighting over the wrong stuff, folks.
Yeah,
so
it's time humanity gets back to humanity. Leave it the fuck alone.
That's a perfect way to have it, man. Yeah, we want you to run the country, not tell us how to feel.
Yeah,
that's the way it should be.
Exactly.
But tangent there. Welcome everybody to the job trailer. I'm not going to apologize for saying that. I wanted that out there. I had to get it out of my head for 5 minutes.
Right.
What are we going to talk about here today, buddy?
Well, it's a subject that 1 gets overlooked, 2 has to happen, and 3 is very, very important in construction life and in a lot of other things, and it bleeds into a lot of other aspects of life. So whether you're on the job site or at home, prioritizing the steps of what gets done and in what order is a major skill, and it can be a massive headache for anyone running a project, whether big or small, tiny, minute, or gigantic, and it's the factor that separates leaders from employees.
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
Foremen from journeymen from apprentices. We all have different levels of this prioritizing factor. And that's what I wanted to talk to you today about is how do we prioritize, and what does prioritization look like?
What does that? Yeah, what does it even mean when it comes to doing this stuff? That's a good subject. Right. I like that, man. Yeah, I'm down for that. And I know it sounds simple, like the order, the way you do things, but regardless of the size of your project, and as John said, whether at home or work, getting those things done in the right order is crucial for not wasting time, money, and having a project done at a reasonable pace.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you don't understand that order, like you said, man, that's what separates a leader from a regular employee.
Yep.
It's a valuable skill. When we start talking about that, where should we start, buddy? I mean, there's the obvious parallel between working like a commercial construction day-to-day job and doing a project at your home, let's say.
Right.
Renovation, new build, whatever. So,
well, and without making this episode way longer than what it needs to be, right. Like, should we focus on one, or
well, we're in construction, but we're going to focus on construction, but we'll have to bebop around to the homeowner part of it too.
All right.
At some point. I've got some examples from my own life.
And so do I.
Right.
So everybody knows we're in the job trailer of my house because I'm recovering, and we are in the construction zone of my house.
Yeah.
And when we talk about prioritizing, I'm going to start on this gambit because I'm looking at all these studs up on the wall. When this project started, I managed to order a lot of material because I had a lot of things in my head. I've had my cabinets now for over a year. They're sitting in my garage. I bought like $7,000 or $8,000 worth of material to start, and that's before I even demoed a wall.
Yeah, I almost tripped over a couple buckets of tile coming in, and you're way away from the tile stage.
Way away from the tile stage, but it's important because you need to have enough forethought and enough site planning to actually be able to do that. Because I needed to buy all that material well before I started because I needed to make sure everything matched. I needed to make sure I had enough because if I'm in the middle of my project that's lasting now 2 years, then I needed to make sure that none of those materials were discontinued.
That's a good point, yeah.
Right? I need things to match. I need them all together, right? So when I think about prioritizing, I think of before a job gets started, that's when prioritizing starts. Before a hammer goes into a wall, before a stud is cut out, before any demo is done, before the dumpster shows up on job site or at my house, I need to start thinking about steps 1 through 100 so I can plan right.
Right. And the only way you learn these things, it's not the only way. The most common way we learn these things is going to be on the job.
On the job. And I learned it all from being on the job and seeing how jobs were done. I know you have. I've seen good. I've seen bad. I've seen guys completely miss steps 10 through 12 and completely fuck something up.
Yeah, only to hose themselves later, right?
Right.
For sure.
When things are having to get torn back out because they didn't prioritize certain aspects of things. But at the same time, so if we think about on a job site, and I'm going to bring it back to like commercial and residential buildings that I've worked on is the general contractors have to, everybody needs to understand it starts with site planning. That is the number one deal. Once the drawings are done and the architect's ready and the surveyors have been out, locates have been done, it starts with site work. If you don't have the site work done right on any build, new construction build or remodel, because a lot of remodels will inevitably impact the outdoor and the site. So they have to get everything started. And you know what? For some guys, that starts with a dumpster and porta potties on the job site before anything starts. Other guys,
both crucial things.
Right. Other things, it starts with having equipment delivered, right? To start doing site work, right? Once all the plot planning is done. But what's important per job site changes per job site.
And sometimes by the day.
Yes.
Right. You can't, we've talked about it before, the plans sometimes change and very often do. Having the ability to roll with those punches to change your plan is crucial.
It's massive.
Right.
Yeah, it certainly is.
So take a regular construction project, okay, buddy? You're probably going to, whether it's directly from a more experienced employee or even through the schooling you're going through, learn how to plan ahead for these things. I can tell you, I've never been handed any sort of real like checklist to go, okay, here's the things you do in the order you do them in.
Right.
You learn how that goes over time and sometimes the hard way when you do start to run projects.
Yep.
So I noticed it seems like an important part of construction that, at least from my perspective, wasn't actively taught to me.
No, there is no real lesson plan for that. Have you ever made yourself a checklist running projects?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But was never, here's the thing, was never informed of like, even some sort of cheat sheet that said, hey, don't forget this, don't forget that. Things that now in retrospect are obvious.
Right.
But at the time, like, I don't know.
Right.
Step 14 was crucial, whatever that happens to be. Make sure you get this part of it ordered and up in the air before the next thing happens. And then you find out, oh, that next thing happens today and I didn't do the thing before that. And now everybody's looking at you for dropping the ball,
right,
dragging your feet and holding up the whole project.
Yep. But you also have to be wary enough and aware enough to understand that another trade can take priority over you.
Definitely.
They have to get their shit done before you get your shit done.
Yeah. Prioritizing isn't just your job.
Right.
If it was that, everybody be in the trades.
Right.
It'd be easy.
Exactly.
Well, planning would be easy.
Planning would be easy. Right. And so you need to understand that you need to communicate with all the other trades on the job, especially if you're running the job.
Right.
You need to communicate with everybody. And if you're talking about a certain section or certain area, you have to be able to look at them and go, I need my shit in before you get yours in. If I don't get mine in before you get yours, I'm fucked.
Yeah, we've talked before. Being able to have a good working relationship with the other trades, on this particular topic especially, is crucial.
Or on the other side of that, being able to look at them and go like, you need to get your stuff done before I can. Please get your stuff done.
Yep.
And then I'll come in.
It runs both ways.
Right. I think that's where a lot of things falter because we're all trying to make the cut, make the profit, get all of our shit done.
Stay on schedule. We talk about the schedule.
Right.
I know it sounds repetitive, folks, but the schedule is the live or die with construction, like,
right,
especially new build, remodel stuff, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
With me in service, it's slightly different, but yeah.
But what do you do? How can we start teaching people what priorities need to be done? Is that a teachable thing or is that an experience thing? Do you teach them or do you just kick them into the deep end and be like, have fun?
Yeah, that's right though. Yeah, is it sit them down, tell them how to do it? I think when I thought about this when you brought it up, I think the problem is, buddy, it could be a teachable skill. The issue with it being a teachable skill is you can teach someone how to plan and prioritize this particular job that you're on right now. Okay, so we're going to have to just think of a random example here right now, and we'll just stick to that to stay sort of focused. Okay, you are building a new one-level bank, offices, teller lines, bathrooms, a simple business. Okay. The prioritization and the list of things you would do and the order that you do them in only really work on that style of build.
Right.
Now, if you're on a different project that's bigger commercial that has more moving parts, longer schedule, that prioritization plan changes. You can't, not every project is the same.
Right.
So to your point, I think it's a sink or swim skill. I think you throw somebody in the deep end and see if they can make it.
Right. But be there when they don't.
And it's part of the
right.
journeyman apprentice learning curve of all that, right? Have somebody around watching, giving you the ability to say, okay, you're messing up here, or you forgot about this, right? It's more of, I think, a supervisory skill to learn than a real teachable moment or moments. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's
sure.
Having somebody over your shoulder before you make a major one so that they can at least tell you. Or, I mean, I've been in cases where there wasn't that and they threw me right in the deep end and went, you'll figure it out. You're a professional.
Right.
You know, we've talked before, all the trust companies putting people and they hire them and put them in these positions. And it's like, it's still amazing to me that my company's like, yeah, just go out there with our company logo on your truck and on your shirt and on your hat and do business as the face of this company. Like, fucking really? Like, you don't know what goes on in my head. Like, you really don't. Like,
right.
Yeah, if you knew all the little thoughts, like, holy God.
Right.
So,
and I've been on the end of that scope, and same with you, the sink or swim. But I've also been fortunate enough to be on the other side of that, where the guys come up. We did job site meeting, and our field soup guy, great guy. He's like, hey, did you remember about this? And I just went, oh, fuck me.
Yeah. And those stomach sinking moments happen more often than I want to admit in construction.
Right.
They really do. Right. It's not a report you missed a file, although sometimes it's even that.
Yeah, sometimes.
But it's something that's now either got to be fixed, changed, started, that you completely forgot, and is more often than not holding up the next group of people in there working.
Right. Right. And it really sucks for the people that are below you when you're in that position, because then you're looking at them going, hey, so that task that I've been having you work on for 2 days, I need you to abandon it real quick. I need you to take care of this. And then they get flustered because you're fucking with their routine and their planning, because even as a journeyman or apprentice, we're given a task and we plan that task. Right. Well, now you just fucked up all their plans.
Well, and how many times have you gotten all the material together to start a project on a job and then had them walk over and go, yep, scrap all that, we just changed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not only, I think, the prioritizing, but the reprioritizing on the fly that really matters, right? And if it is, again, we say we're going to stick to kind of commercial construction here for a minute or whatever, but let me just bebop over to house, right? You've all heard, I just got most of my kitchen finished, still got some odds and ends, but I mean, it's done, quote unquote, nice. Functional, right? I still got some details, but so I'm now looking down the barrel of what's the next project. For me, it's going to be my full upstairs bathroom remodel, and I mean a full remodel.
Nope. That
was going to be a more simple, put in a new surround tub, get that ugly 60s wallpaper off the wall, put a new countertop, new sink, new tile. It wasn't going to be crazy.
How far did that change?
And my missus, no offense to her, she gets what she wants most of the time. Well, now she'd like a whole tiled tub, stand up, walk in. I mean, that adds a bunch of time, a bunch of planning, things that I definitely need some other people to help me with to get finished. So even at home, that prioritization of projects matters.
Right.
And that could be something as simple as not only like the prioritization and the organization of that bathroom, but the other things that I may need to think about doing in advance, like getting our second small little bathroom downstairs more functional for right now, so that we have that. It's that sort of thing, right?
Right.
If you don't think ahead to this stuff, you're going to find yourself in the weeds.
Right. And we do that on our houses all the time. And that is important. I like how you're planning about your other bathroom before the major bathroom.
Which my wife doesn't agree with, by the way. Not saying it's right or wrong, but she doesn't see the benefit the way I do. We just have a different opinion.
Easy. Just have her use that bathroom, that secondary bathroom, for a week.
She's not high maintenance, so that won't be a win.
I don't think she'll like it.
Oh,
I've used that second bathroom.
Yeah, it's not great.
I don't think she'll like it.
It's a bathroom in a very loosely functional sense that it's got a sink and a toilet and a shower if you don't mind using a wrench to turn it on.
And horrible lighting.
And terrible lighting and no fan and just for visual folks, at one point, for some reason, there was carpet in this room. And yes, in a bathroom, because
They used to do that a lot.
Yeah, they used to do it a lot, right? Because whoever put the new vanity in years ago, it's an old vanity now, they just cut the carpet around it. You can still see the hairs around the edge of it, right?
Yep.
I might even throw some pictures up on socials, folks. I'm not proud. It's fucking brutal in there.
Right. Right.
But even then, like, yeah, to your point, let her use it for a week. Maybe just shut the other bathroom down, put caution tape over the door or something just to see. I think she would roll with it just out of principle. I'm not going to say spite, because she's not spiteful by nature.
She's not a spite.
Yeah,
she's a wonderful woman.
Yeah, but I think
Michelle,
she would.
we
Yeah,
love
I
you.
think she'd tough it out just to go, see, it was fine. I'm fine. Like, okay.
Yeah.
She's also not one of these hour to get ready people.
Right.
My missus is good that way, so I'm lucky in that. Right. But back to the point. If you don't know to, the best way to say it, I guess, is if you don't know that there's a certain part of the project that needed to be in there, that's the biggest problem for us as construction workers, I find. It's one of the things you really got to think about. If you just didn't know that there was a step 10.
Right.
The problem then becomes, not only did step 10 not get done, but the other trades have done things behind you. And now what may have taken someone a day to say, pipe a machine or get the drain lines in for something or whatever, now becomes way more time consuming because there's a bunch of shit in the way.
Right.
Or they got to move something, or it's got to get rerouted. Those are the ones that really are just time and material killers.
Yep.
Yeah, I could have put one apprentice in that room and piped all this stuff up if I had to remember 2 weeks ago, but I forgot, and now everything's in the way, and it's going to take 2 of them 3 days.
Right.
Those are the drags, right?
And sometimes it can't be helped either. Before my surgery, I was doing a job. I spent a month piping a boiler room, a mechanical room for a business. Had 2 huge air handlers in it and 7 boilers. Commercial grade 7 boilers. The pipe fitters, it took them over a year to get all the piping done. The guy that sent me in, the foreman that sent me in, he was running the job. He flat out looked at me. He's like, hey, you're going to be working on this stuff. Sorry. Because we didn't get in there before, and we couldn't. It couldn't be helped, right? They had to get their plumbing done before we run a bunch of pipe on the ceiling and fuck their hangers and,
Right.
But it's that prioritizing that sometimes is done right, but it still blows balls. Like,
Yeah, it sucks.
yeah.
Yeah, and we've said this so many times, and you'll forgive us, but I mean, it is something that requires bringing up again. You got to be flexible.
Yeah.
Man, things aren't going to go your way. You're going to forget things. Even if you have a priority plan and step by step, and good for you. But very few plans go the distance without getting changed, most often reasonably, if not dramatically.
Right.
Right. Now, this is a figurative thing I'm going to say, but it's one of my favorite quotes ever. It was from Mike Tyson. I believe I've mentioned it before. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Now, in our case, the punch in the face is a change, a missed opportunity, a missed part. But it's a metaphorical punch in the face, punch in the gut. You feel it. It's like, oh, God damn it, I forgot that. Or they didn't tell me about that.
Right.
Because sometimes it's not even a lack of your planning. Sometimes it's a lack of other people telling you, or not knowing, or just adding.
Yep.
So,
and I've seen it on a journeyman level too, on job sites, these big high rises and stuff like that. I've seen those things happen in different trades and just been on the outskirts of it, looking in and going, oh, they're fucked. God, I feel bad for them.
oh yeah, certainly.
I remember one, I felt so bad for the framers. There was probably 10 stories built and units were framed up, and these poor guys, they came in, and all of a sudden somebody realized that the door sizes for the units from the hallways in, just like your hotel doors, they're all framed the wrong size.
I'm going to assume if it was a problem, they framed them too small.
They framed them too small,
Yep.
but it was a change that nobody had caught. And so so they were framed up that far. Electrical was done, plumbing was done, and they had to make all the door frames bigger.
Which, just from our electrical perspective, the only reason part of that matters is there's usually a switch or two really close to the edge of a door frame when you walk in and out of a room.
Yeah, always.
You're definitely changing something there. Ductwork very often goes through the space above doorways.
Yep.
There may be a problem.
Sprinkler lines are usually right there. There's usually a head right by the door.
Yeah. Like you don't think about it, but a lot of stuff is in and around a door. Not to mention, now they got to change everything to hang the proper size door.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a really good example, actually, buddy. I like that a lot.
Right. And that was just a simple fact of now their priority went from framing up more units to fixing all this. Because if they didn't put this as a priority, they were going to be really fucked when the sheetrock started getting hung.
Right.
Right.
And now the time that you had planned to do the next number of steps, you got to push all that back.
Yep. Everything gets slowed down.
Yeah. So we mentioned this stuff because we want everybody to be successful in construction. That's what we're here for. We want to talk a little fun about it, but have some realistic information to get out there and tell people like, it ain't easy. Nope. People think construction's easy. It's not. No. You got to be a social person to work with other people. You got to be able to roll with the punches, as I said earlier. It's a skill, and especially when you get to the level where you are, it doesn't even have to be running a whole job. You could be running a portion of job as a journeyman or even an apprentice for the larger up and ups.
Yep.
You still have to think about it in that case. Now, do you have leadership close by that you can go to and say, hey, am I missing anything here? Sure. But most people don't think that way, buddy. And it's my point I wanted to get to.
Right.
A lot of people are proud and be like, no, I'm going to figure it out on my own. When if you had to take the time, maybe once a day, to go over to the people in charge of you, or even sometimes a job soup, talk to the other trades about what they got going on, to be able to say, hey, see anything I'm forgetting here?
Yeah.
Most people don't want to admit that.
A simple 5-minute conversation can go a long ways.
Right. So that's my biggest thing of this whole prioritizing the job site. Sometimes that's also prioritizing your own experience and knowledge to be able to suck it up and go, I don't want to fuck this up. Right. I don't want to miss something obvious. I'm going to go talk to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Pride and ego can be a killer in it.
Oh, and for sure.
Like I've worked with guys that won't ask questions. And then I am on the other side of the fence. Me personally, I feel bad a lot of times because I ask a lot of questions because shit doesn't make sense. And if you've ever been on a job site in a foreman or a leadership position, even as a journeyman, you get handed a set of prints and you're looking at it and something looks off, but you can't put your finger on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to just stare at it for a hot minute and then look at the guy next to you and go, is something weird with this? And sometimes just by looking at it, then you'll figure it out, but you got to ask the questions. Be like, hey, what about this?
Even times, you make a great point, buddy. Even times that I was running projects, I noticed fairly often that it really helped me to just occasionally go to one of the other people. Didn't have to be leadership. It could be anybody, and just get someone with a fresh perspective that wasn't stuck in the forest. You know what I mean? The forest for the trees, as they say, right?
Yeah.
I got better at that almost immediately after missing a few things early in my career where I'm like, no, I got to ask more questions.
Right.
But if somebody's proud, they're not going to do that, or they think that their experience is so great, I don't need to ask anybody about that. I know what I'm doing here. I've run a bunch of big projects. Yeah, but it's not this project.
Right.
And they're all kind of a unique animal.
They all are a unique animal.
Right. Like,
I won't even... I completely disagree with you on that one. They are completely different from each other. It might look the same on the outside. There isn't a single project that's the same. Not ever.
I did 2, quote unquote, air quotes, identical car washes, 4-bay car washes for the same company, same layout, same everything. And they were still completely different projects. The timelines were different. The time of year was different. The availability of material was different. The people putting in part of the equipment. Visually, when it was done, they looked, acted exactly the same company, same logo, same paint structure, everything. Nope.
Yep. 2 completely different projects.
Yeah. And that was one that I walked into going, fuck, got it. I got it. It's going to be no problem. I already did one exactly like this.
Yeah, then you get punched in the fucking jaw.
It's a hard knock life for us. Like, that was just Jay-Z rolling in my head for 3 months, that whole project. Like, you got yourself into this shit. Now get yourself out of it.
Yeah, but from what you've said, you've always had a really good leadership structure behind you, and you could just be like, hey, so this is fucked.
I can't give my company enough credit and leadership that I've had, like journeymen, foremen who are in charge of me over the years. I've been very lucky. My company has a good culture of that, and I wish every company has it. I don't want to just have it on mine. I want every company successful. You know what I mean? But you're right. I've been real fortunate when it comes to that. And again, got into this trade as an adult.
Right.
You know what I mean? This was not my first career, I mentioned before.
Right.
Where if someone got in early, so let's say somebody got in year 2 after high school, they journey out real young, 22, 23. Man, that man or woman don't know what they're doing yet. That's a child.
Yep.
But
that was me.
But they think, well, I'm in charge of this project now. Like, I must know what I'm doing. Careful.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it a lot.
You know what I mean? Like, I can run the hose at my house outside. I'm not a firefighter. Like, those are very different things. You got to know what you're doing.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, it's a, I don't know why I have a lot of firefighter analogies lately, but it is what it is. So, if I can, buddy, let me swing to the homeowner part of it. Okay. Because we're fortunate that we're in the industry.
Right.
So, some of the things that we've learned from ourselves, from other trades as we were going, are mistakes that we wouldn't have made at home, but it's way more likely for a homeowner, and even us sometimes, to make obvious misses that were crucial when they're trying to YouTube university, as we've talked about recently.
Right.
They're, let's use my example, a bathroom remodel.
Right.
All right. Then it's so many of us have joked about it. You're listening, you have too. You just got back from the hardware store and realized it's 3 things you needed.
Yep.
When you made your 8th trip there on a Saturday to do a project you thought was going to take you 4 hours.
Yeah.
And now expand that to an entire bathroom. Right. Or a kitchen or whatever the case may be. And that doesn't even factor in if someone was trying to do an extension on the house or move a wall, because they probably don't tell you about bracing on your 6-minute YouTube video.
Right.
They don't tell you to not put a new garage in this time of year because the foundation is going to settle funny, where a professional has learned those things. When a homeowner, it's too late.
Right.
I thought I did the thing up front and got ready to go, and now I'm screwed. I think the homeowner fuck up on this is probably the bigger problem.
Oh, and I can't even say that, because honestly, man, I consider myself a professional, but every project that I do on my house is just like that. There are times where even I am working on something at 10 o'clock at night, trying to finish up something that's not electrical. Plumbing is usually what it is, because let's face it, I'm not a plumber. But 10 o'clock, and I realize I'm one fitting short and the hardware stores are closed.
That is a drag of the whole thing. When you thought you had everything you needed,
I've had my entire house plumbing shut off for an entire 2 days because of that.
See, that's a drag, right? I knew I was in the weeds doing my kitchen now. A little bit of side info here. So when my kitchen was down, it was down for a couple months. One thing I didn't realize, because I'm not a plumber, I knew I could do the plumbing from my existing fittings in the wall back to my new sink. I could figure that out, right? And I had done that. And then it wasn't draining.
Yep.
I snaked it out. I put some chemical down there. I thought, oh, my fittings are on. Did I have this P-trap wrong? What are we doing here? Come to find out that some of the liquid soft things within that drain pipe had hardened and solidified because there'd been no water or anything run down there for a couple months.
Right.
And it caused a real live clog.
Yep.
Not a slow drain, a clog.
Right.
A solid physical clog, which I was making worse every time I put more water and chemicals and shit down there. Mm-hmm. I realized it was a problem when I had been to the local hardware store. And if the old timer ever listens, the white-haired Scott, he's a great guy. He knows me by name now because I had been in there so many times. That made me a little embarrassed for a minute. I'm like, wow, I've made so many trips here that you know who I am.
Right.
Fuck.
In that department.
Fuck. Yeah, so that one is always good. But so I'm just thinking the homeowner part of it, right?
Right.
So that brings us back. So you mentioned just right now, it's a professional doing their specific trade job or has some varied knowledge, framing, tile, things like that, versus someone who doesn't at all and is just trying to wing it to save a buck.
Right.
You've obviously been in places where their plan went awry and they forgot something important, and now you're going back in to correct that because they're so far along, they're in the weeds and they're screwed. They got to call a dude, as we say sometimes.
Yep.
Right? Got to call a guy or gal. Have you had a case where, in retrospect or during the moment, we've talked about it before, I'm sure, but where you realized, oops, now I got to call somebody with the right tools, the right experience, the right whatever to get this part of it done that you have now botched. Perfect word.
Yep, I definitely have. So mine came from, and it sounds silly when people hear it, my house back home, before I tried to sell it, had the realtor come in, and I had done a bunch of work, and it wasn't done yet, but we were having them come in and just do an assessment, a rough assessment of Ooh, job trailer's falling down.
Yeah, we'll be all right, folks.
Do a rough assessment of what we needed to do before we sold the house. And he flat out looked at me. He's like, so the sheetrock work that you did looks like dog shit. And I'm like, fuck. So I had to hire a guy to fix all of now my walls were painted, taped, textured, done. And they looked like dog shit. And so I had to hire a guy to come in and be like, all right, man, will you make me look good?
Well, there it is, right?
And because people don't realize tape and texture on sheetrock is an art.
Yeah, we've talked about before. It definitely is. Yeah.
And if you don't have the right tools, right process, right knowledge, you will make it look absolutely horrid.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that, right?
How about yourself?
Well, you bring up a good point because we just had a conversation the other night. I sent you a Instagram that I thought was genius, brand new information that I should have known all these years ago.
Yeah, you did.
At this point, at this point, I'll have a reaction video or a side-by-side up on Instagram by this point when you hear this episode. Someone looking at the instructions on the side of joint compound when they were taping and mudding and putting up their new sheetrock. And the second step right there on the thing was to take a wet sponge and use that to sand over your finish.
Yep.
You know how much time I've wasted sanding. As soon as the guy showed us, I'm like, it's obvious. If I ever had to take the time to read it, I call you up and you're like, oh yeah, of course. Like, I've always been doing that.
Yeah, I've done it for years.
Short story here. Sometimes saving yourself a fuck up, read the instructions.
Right.
Like, I wasted so much time trying to get a nice smooth texture on something. I was real pissed off when I saw that. So yeah, you'll see it in the reaction video I got on Instagram, folks. I was not proud of myself at all. Which brings up the point of not even just instructions on a packaging, which although I am a big proponent, look at your tools, look at your material, read what it says. Sometimes it'll tell you things to keep you from busting stuff or ruining it or whatever.
Yep.
Is the... And this has been a running theme lately, folks, but it's something that's so prevalent right now. Is the internet idiot-proof?
Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no.
But people think it is.
Yeah, people think it's freaking... Some people think it's the gospel. But, dude, there is so much bad information on the internet. It is... We've said it time and time again. It is a dumpster fire, and it's just getting worse because everybody has access. I mean, I could put a post up on any freaking website on my phone in a matter of seconds.
Right.
And even when I have no reason to do that. And yeah, no, if you want to get good advice, I'll tell you this right now. One, there is great forums. You can get on their actual forums where people are actually having good conversations.
Yeah, back and forth, ask questions. Yeah, not Reddit, folks.
Not Reddit.
Construction, remodeling, home forums.
Not in a YouTube comment section.
Right.
Like, for the love of fucking God. But also, if you know a guy, ask questions.
Yeah,
we'll usually tell you.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Nobody's proud. Ask questions. Worst case scenario, they don't have the time to answer you, or they don't want to because they don't like you, or whatever the reason is. Ask somebody else.
Now, if you don't have anybody and you have mechanical skills and you're confident that you can do something right, understand it's probably going to take you 40 times as long, but do it slow enough to where you don't fuck it up. All
right. Well, here's the question then of the day, man. Yes, you can do your own things. You can do whatever it is. Name XYZ. Sheetrock, plumbing, electrical. Okay. You can find some format that tells you the basics on how to do it, and you can figure it out and save yourself a few bucks. Sure.
Right.
But is it professional if it's not done by a professional?
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, my basic example in my head is I've been at more friends' houses over the years that said, no, you don't need no cabinets. I went on the internet, looked at it, I refinished my cabinets myself, and you get there and it looks like shit.
Yeah.
You're prolonging a problem to save yourself a couple of bucks now that's going to cost you money when you sell.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. And I love the question that you post there. Is it professional if it's not done by a professional? I think professional is having something completed professionally is different than having it done by a professional, because I've known some professionals that have completely bought shit.
Oh yeah, it's not to say professional's going to be done right. People fuck things up. Like, yeah, sure.
So what does professional mean to you?
Okay.
Right? So if I look at, oh God, I'll take your example, refinishing cabinets. If there's runs, lines, streaks, if you can clearly tell that they didn't, do they refinish the inside of the cabinets along with the outside? Yeah, that's not professional.
It brings up my biggest thought about this whole thing is, and we are talking about prioritizing here, right? So to bring it back to that just a tiny little bit, there is good enough when it comes to visual things.
Yep.
If you're fine with it, if you can say good enough, good on you. And does it function properly? That's the technical side of the whole thing, right? Though that's two distinct parts of it. If you don't care that your walls look like dog shit when you finish them and put them up, that your cabinets look terrible, that your countertop isn't level, whatever, your tiles aren't straight, if you can live with it, good on you.
Right.
That's on you.
That's on you.
But the functionality part of things, that's, I think, the priority for most homeowners. They will skimp and do their own work on a lot of visual things, but it's when they get into the technical aspects where something has to work a certain way, the right size ductwork, the right size plumbing. That's where I worry about the YouTube University thing. You're putting a priority on saving money over a priority on the long-term functionality of whatever you're talking about, whatever part of your home build. And is that going to last? Is it going to cause problems on other parts?
And that's where that good enough comes into play. For me, I think I see a lot more of homeowners going good enough on functionality where it shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Is that where you're getting at? Okay. So yeah, it's a matter of, they're shortchanging and it's working well enough, but not right.
Yeah.
And that is a hinder.
It's the jalopy example, right? My car runs just fine.
Right.
But it looks like crap. Good enough.
Yep.
I got a brand new, nice looking outside exterior paint job that I did on my car, but I learned how to fix my engine off the internet and it runs like shit.
Right.
Okay, so that's the trade-off. That can't be said on the construction side of things.
Yeah. Nope. For sure.
A professional job done by professionals in a workmanlike manner.
Yep.
We talk about it all the time, right?
Yep.
So that's the other part of the prioritization, as an adult would say it, of what we're talking about here. Not only getting the right steps, but the priority on looks, finished product, functionality. That's a priority part of this whole thing when it comes to leadership and experience too.
Yes. And I think when you're talking about that, and maybe I'm taking it wrong, but
I'll correct you if you do it wrong.
Being in a leadership part, being able to set those priorities and the expectations and be able to prioritize the right person to do the job, right?
Certainly.
So whatever they're doing, if you're in the middle of a project and you've got Joe over here, well, you know that Joe is fucking fantastic at doing trim work, right? Doing finish work, doing finished cabinetry, stuff like that. He's fantastic, but right now you have him hanging doors, right? Which he's good. They'll work, they'll function right, they'll look good, but his true skill is cabinets and finished trim, right? So the priority side of that is don't let that be his priority. Pull him off of doors, give him the priority of his workmanship and let him excel. But there again, then you start a rabbit hole of what we call pigeonholing a guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's only going to do cabinets the rest of his life. Well, that's not good either.
Some people like to specialize.
Some people like.
But you don't grow as a professional by doing the one small part of your trade.
Right. I believe very highly, and maybe it's just me, I believe very highly on being a well-rounded individual in construction.
I think it's the only way to have a long, successful career, especially if you, as most people don't, stay with the same company your entire career. That's pretty rare now.
Yep.
It's okay if you're there because they know you're the person who can do X really great and they send you to do that.
Yep.
You might get bored and want to do different things, or you might find yourself in a layoff situation, or just want to change jobs and go to a different company. Well, they don't have that. Now you got to do the varied things day by day. So those things do come up. I'm thinking in my own head, right? This overlaps a tiny bit with our responsibilities episode, but not so much of the responsibilities of your staffing and your education, things like that. But in this case of being sure that you have as many of your ducks in a row as you possibly can. Yep. And when one of those little fluffy fuckers gets out of line, we got to know how to get him back in line. Right. And it might not be in the same position.
Right.
It might be further down the line of ducks. But you got to do your best to keep that all going and then factor in all the other things you said. Mm-hmm. Not only prioritizing the steps of the job, prioritizing who does what well, who's going to be there, who's on vacation, what are the other
who has a
proclivity
gotcha, for buddy. Fucking Colin Inlet.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So it's this one. I knew was going. Yeah, I know this one was going to spin down a rabbit hole here a little tiny bit about that, because all of those things affect what part of the project take priority.
Yeah.
But they also affect how you use your man hours, how you use your budget.
Yep.
Because again, as I mentioned earlier, if you forgot to do something, now it takes longer to do it. That's time away from the rest of the step. Yep. It's so easy to get lost. So keeping the priorities straight in your head, being able to flow with the changes and the adjustments, it's such a crucial skill. And prioritizing not only all of those things together, but your own success and happiness at work.
Oh, there's a part that we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let it go. Like, yes, it's all of these things. How you prioritize things matters about everything. And sometimes that's also you. Yeah. Are you going to be there? Are you having to adjust your vacation and personal time?
Yep.
It's everything, folks. So if you can't get a plan in place for yourself, maybe consider getting better skills and more experience before you jump into a role where now you're in charge.
Right. Yeah, no, I like how you bring that up. I'm happy you actually said something, because I didn't even think about that. When it comes to, in my mind, you do have to prioritize yourself, because we will work ourselves to the bone. And one, it'll be because of responsibility to home. It'll be responsibility to the company, feeling some sort of responsibility for, yep, okay, now I'm running this job. Now I'm never going to take any time off.
Which happens to a lot of people.
Yep. You cannot do that. It cannot be a motive in your mind to not prioritize yourself, your mental health, your physical health, your family time. Dude, the project's still going to be there. Understand that. Nothing's just going to disappear with you not there.
But so many people don't think that way, buddy.
No, they don't. And they have a real hard time. So yeah, that's a fucking thing.
Oh yeah, no, I wanted to get into this one a little more, because I know it was a small portion of what we did in the responsibilities episode, but this seemed like just a bigger thing that we kind of need to dig into a tiny little bit here. It's in my opinion, and I mean, for what it's worth, it's the errors that you make through inexperience are a big part of the learning curve as we all go, and not being able to prioritize how, when, why things even get done, why they need to be done at a certain timeline. If you don't learn those things young and have a chance to learn them before you go, there's so much more of an opportunity for you to have a costly, forgetful brain fart on a project and find yourself in the weeds.
Yep.
And the easiest way, at least for me, that I've found to be happy in my job as I've gone along, jobs are different, they change all the time, but the relaxation that I get in my head of knowing I'm thinking ahead to getting things done, that's why we sit at home in the shower after work, thinking about the day. You wake up at night when you're running a project, it's always constantly on your mind. Yeah, that drags you down a bit, but taking the time to do that as you go seems to be, for me, the best way to just calm it all down a hair.
Right.
At least I know I'm doing my best to go over and over and over in my head. Yes, does it take up a bunch of your personal life because you're just constantly thinking about work? Sure. But that constant thinking may save you a costly error or mistake.
Right.
That stress is way worse than the stress of going, all right, I got to do this and this and this and this.
Yep. No, I understand where you're coming from. And we do tend to do that just by natural habit a lot, especially when you have that responsibility put on your shoulders. We tend to prioritize those thoughts instead of thinking about kids and wife and job duties at home and stuff like that. I have gotten better. I'm not 100% at it. I've gotten a lot better at shutting shit off.
I have to.
When I'm done with the day, I'm done with the day. I don't think about work during the weekend. But that is taken a lot of time to actually get there.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm much better about that now. I can't completely shut it off all the time. Sometimes I'm still rolling with it. But yeah, that's something that's hard for a lot of people. I struggled with that.
Yep.
Separating work and home. I couldn't shut off. And there was a point in my career where I went to my management and went, I don't want to run no more work.
Right.
I'll be the hardest working crew guy you got. Don't worry, but I want to go home and I want to not think about it anymore. At the time, some people think that way and then they ride their career out like that.
Yep.
Now I fell back into it again after a little more years of experience, figured it all out and figured out a way to shut it off.
Right.
But I always just still think to myself, that's because I now had more time in. And anybody listening, this would be my key for the whole episode here. Time in changes from person to person on when you get comfortable enough to run work or even a small project or part of it so that you feel comfortable enough that you know what you're doing and you're not missing any steps.
Yep.
Just give it time. Don't shut yourself off from part of the job.
Right.
Or specialize even just because, well, I can't keep all those balls in the air. Maybe you can't.
Yep.
Try.
Yeah.
Try.
Give it a shot. And if you can't, understand that you can always hand some of those balls off to somebody else and be like, hey, I need you to take care of this.
Right.
Right. It's okay to delegate.
Oh, certainly.
A lot of guys have a problem with delegating. But when you find yourself in a position of having to prioritize multiple things at once, you have to delegate. I think. Like, yep, you got to pass that off and be like, hey, I need this done. I need you to take care of it. And now.
Right.
Like, not later, now.
And trusting other professionals.
Right.
Right. Yes, they may be less experienced than you, but they have experience.
Yep.
It's up to you to decide if you can take that worry and put it on them and go, all right, trust me to take care of this.
Right.
And once in a while, that bites you in the ass too. And
Sometimes.
again, that's fucking construction for you, folks.
Yep.
Again, people say it's easy. It ain't easy.
It's not.
Now, if I may, one quick question here, buddy, and then we'll wrap this up for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you my example while you get a chance to think about yours, but from the homeowner perspective, doing your own jobs, doing your own stuff to try to not have to hire a contractor. Save yourself some money and do it your own way, right? I am not hanging sheetrock. I'm not taping. I'm not fuck all of that. I'm calling somebody to take care. I will pay that money. I don't want to fuck with it.
Right.
Do you have one? I think we talked about this in the home renovation one, but I don't remember what you said.
We both lean on sheetrock. I will hang sheetrock. I will not tape and texture. I absolutely not.
I'll say I didn't even want to hang sheetrock. I don't want to muscle sheetrock around. Fuck all that.
And I honestly don't want to paint, but I will.
Oh, look, I just finished my whole upstairs before the 4th of July on a time crunch. Yeah, painting sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
I tend to be too picky, too over anal when it comes to paint.
Oh, dude, you want to talk about picking over anal? I went through about 200 yards of blue painter's tape, taping over the edges of all my crown molding and all my trim and all my doors because I didn't want to cut. I don't want to spend time cutting and frigging it all up. I just wanted to, I'd rather spend that time pulling tape off later.
Right.
Thank God my wife helped with that. I think it was a whole evening of just taking tape off the whole
stairs. I bet it was.
I bought a 6-pack of big blue tape rolls and man, I went through almost all of that.
Oh, that's funny shit. Yeah. And no, we're on the same boat, man. It's sheetrock. I will handle pretty much everything else, but tape and texture, like I've said before, it's an art form that I do not possess.
Yeah, the tools, the skills, the patience.
I have all of the stuff.
I'm all about it. Yeah,
I can do a patch job.
Right. Yeah,
but it's gonna look like dog shit.
Yeah. One thing is, if I end up doing it myself, I end up with more patch jobs because I end up punching, or not even punching, but banging a couple holes of sheetrock out of frustration with a hammer or something like. Oh, there's one more patch for fuck's sakes.
Right.
Well, listen, man, I like this one today. That was a good idea you had. I enjoyed this quite a bit. What would your sum up be for everybody when it comes to the prioritization of your jobs?
Oh, one, it's okay to be loose. I want people to kind of relax and kind of go with the flow a little bit. You need to be able to be rigid at times, but you also need to take more time to loosen up, understand where the priorities sit, understand what the true priorities are, not what the priorities you think are.
That's a good point.
Right. And be able to self-evaluate that really well.
Yeah, being self-aware in this industry is really important.
Yep.
Yeah, because if you're in long enough, you're going to see a person who got themselves in the weeds when all they had to do was ask a couple of questions.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, that's a good point, man. For me, mistakes are going to happen. Things are going to get forgotten. Okay? Mm-hmm. Like you say, you got to have the flow. You got to be willing to roll with it, all that. My biggest thing for people is when two conflicting things come up at the same time, that's when the stress of experience in leadership for me have really gotten to me, and I've seen it with other people. You didn't have one thing go sideways, you had two or more at the same time.
Yep.
Those are the moments where you just got to stop, take a deep breath, figure out who you got around you for help, and like you say, delegate to the proper people. And if you don't have them there, I always encourage everybody all the time, don't be scared. Call up your shop, call up your management. Say, listen, I'm in the weeds and I need a handy body here who knows what they're doing with X or Y or Z.
Yep.
Don't be proud. I guess that's the end of the day. When you find yourself in the weeds on a couple different parts and you know it's getting out of your hand, call, throw a signal flare up, ask for some fucking help, for fuck's sakes.
I like that. That's very true.
You have to.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate it, man. This was fun. Everyone, please check out our website, isawpodcast.com. John and I kept always firing all the socials at you, but you can find everything there. Most importantly, our emails, if you want to reach out to us. You can also DM us on Instagram. We're at isawpodcast. Please leave us some messages or send us something in on the phone number, 507-607-ISAW. That's 4729. And if you want to help out this little podcast, we keep saying it, that buy us a beer widget on our website is basically the only way you can help us for right now, other than feedback and things like that. Yep. And anything you want to do to help out this little free podcast, well, John and I really appreciate it. So,
absolutely.
Missing anything, my friend?
Well, just everybody remember, your work keeps the world working. We are the backbone of this country. So,
yes, I'm not going to add anything. Perfect, buddy.
Fantastic. Jason, it was a good time. Thanks for sitting down and recording once more, man.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for joining us in the job trailer this week again, and be safe out there.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.